We always begin with gratitude. So I want to thank you for being here and to let you know that I am very honored to have your energy and your presence here in this space. I want to talk to y'all about something that I learned recently about asking for help. And I may talk about this in another video, but my personal circumstances at the time led me to a place of realizing that I needed to ask for help, that I needed to reach out to my community for support. And I learned so much in that process that I just never considered before when it comes to asking for help. So I want to share that with y'all in hopes that this is also helpful for y'all. As always, please take whatever resonates. If it does not resonate, leave it right where it is for whoever might need it. So I want to share first just some things that you should consider before asking for help. And the first part of what I want to share is focused on like what they don't tell you. What are the things that we don't really talk about when it comes to asking for help? You may see someone struggling or having a challenging experience, and a lot of people will just say, oh, just ask for help, or, you know, do you have anybody that can support you? And I think about how some people will let these very, I think, well-intentioned, but a lot of times empty words roll off of their tongue. And these words are, let me know if you need anything, or I'm here to help you. Again, these are very well-intentioned, but they are passive. And I'm thinking about times for me personally, and also when I've been sitting with a client who maybe needed a lot of help, but was just so overwhelmed, so overstimulated that they could not articulate what it is that they needed help with. So going back to just talking about, you know, what they don't tell you, so to speak, or what we don't talk about when it comes to asking for help. I realized just now that I did not introduce myself. I just started talking and did not introduce myself. If you are new here, I am LA. I'm a licensed therapist, holistic wellness coach, and guide, and the creator of this channel, Reconnect with You. If my vibe and energy or any of the contents of my channel resonate with you, or even of this video, I invite you to share your thoughts below in the comments and to subscribe so that you can send the message to the algorithm and to other folks on YouTube that there is meaning in the content that I'm sharing. Back to what I was sharing about the things that we don't talk about and what they don't tell you about asking for help. One thing that I was very aware of in my personal situation recently is that asking for help could be an opportunity for someone who you've lost contact with, or maybe just someone who is looking to regain access to you for whatever reason. They're looking for an opportunity to reach out to you. And unfortunately, you asking for help means that you are in some sort of vulnerable situation, whatever the circumstances, and regardless of what may have led to those circumstances, you are in a bit of a vulnerable state. But asking for help can be that opportunity for some folks. Something else that I think, the second thing that I want to highlight that I think is really important is just because you ask for help or that you need support with something does not mean that you can't set boundaries. This is, or in other words, that you need to accept whatever kind of treatment you receive because you are in a position of needing help. And I was looking over because I heard something falling across the room, and the charger for my laptop was falling down off of the desk. I was wondering what that was. Anyway, so just because you need help or support with something does not mean that you have to accept or that you deserve to accept any type of treatment. You can still set boundaries when you're asking for help, and I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Offering help can also be used as well, no, I'm saying it right. Offering help can be used as a tool for abuse, manipulation, or other toxic or just unhealthy relationship dynamics. So thinking about maybe family members who you have been abused by or have harmed you in some way, or just someone else. It doesn't have to be a family member, but someone who is offering you help as a way to control you, as a way to maintain a certain kind of access to you, as a way to keep you dependent on them. So it can be used as a tool for abuse. The last thing I want to mention that they don't tell you is when you ask for help, you are giving the person that is on the offering end, you are giving them a certain level of access to you. And they may have some information about your life or about whatever your circumstances are that are causing you to need their help or support. And it's important that you are comfortable with them having that access to you. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as I move into challenges for asking for help. So I've already kind of touched on 5 things that they don't tell you and things that I feel like we don't talk about that are very worthy of conversation when we think about asking for help. Next, I want to highlight 4 challenges to asking for help. And this list is not exhaustive at all. There are so many different challenges that folks experience with asking for help. These challenges are based on whatever your circumstances are, the resources that you have available to you, how you use and manage those resources. And I could go on and on. There are a lot of different factors that shape what challenges might come up for you as it relates to asking for help. But I think a really big challenge for folks to asking for help is bringing yourself to ask for help in the first place. So one thing that I created a while back, and I've shared this same strategy with several clients and they found it helpful, is I started what I call a helping hands resume. And on that, and it was a sheet of paper. I'm a pen to paper type of person. I tell people I'm old school in that way, but I took out a piece of paper and I wrote down on that paper and used this over time to track the times that I asked for help, who I asked, and what it was that I received. I'm actually saying it wrong. It's tracking the times that you asked for help and received it. And I use this as a strategy to remind myself that look at all these times that you asked for help and this other person actually supported you with whatever it was that you needed. And again, it's important to track who you ask for or who you ask the help and who you ask support from and also what they were offering you. Because another part of asking for help is knowing, and I'm going to get to this next, but knowing who to ask for help and what you can ask of them just kind of based on how they've been able to show up for you before. But creating that journal or that tracking sheet that I mentioned really supports you in doing the same, reminding you that there are a lot of times when you ask for help and you receive it. And that can be encouraging for you too in those times when you feel like you're not receiving the support that you need at the time. The next challenge is knowing when to ask for help. And this is a tough one because when you ask for help, it's such a personal decision and it's going to be based on, again, whatever your personal circumstances are. But I know one thing that comes up for me and that I've even sat across clients where we're kind of doing some shared reflection, but some questions that come up are like, do you ask for help once you've exhausted all of your other support options? Do you ask for help right away when something comes up that you don't feel like you're going to be able to manage? Do you maybe try some things on your own first and then you go and ask for help? It's really difficult, but I think in terms of knowing when to ask for help, that takes self-awareness. And I'm going to talk about that in a second, just some things that actually my next point, the next challenge, knowing how to ask for help. So I think both of these, knowing when to ask for help and how you ask for help, both require a certain level of self-awareness. And you need to know what you need. When you are asking for help, you need to know where your limits are, what your capacity and your bandwidth are, and knowing how to ask for help. What language do you use? How do you articulate yourself? How do you make sure that you are being clear about what it is that you need to whoever it is you are asking? And some strategies that I would recommend for overcoming this challenge in particular is using some healing and reflective practices. So thinking about doing self-check-ins, using journaling. Another practice is shadow work, but really being intentional about sitting with yourself and asking, what is it that I need? How am I feeling right now? How am I reacting to what's before me? What's on my plate? The responsibility that I have currently in my life. And I think those practices can really help you to continue to develop and build that self-awareness, so that even if you don't have that awareness in this moment, you are able to create that for yourself. The next and last challenge I'm going to talk about is having a fear of being taken advantage of. And as I mentioned earlier, again, you asking for help, it can be used against you by some folks. I am not fear mongering, because I don't want you to, the point of this video is not to make you uncomfortable with asking for help or even to dissuade you from doing so. It's more so, hey, if you ask for help, here are some things to consider. But having a fear of being taken advantage of is another challenge that folks have with asking for help, or even having a fear that the person that you're asking or the person that's helping you is going to hold it over your head in some way. Hold it, again, kind of as a tool for some type of abuse or manipulation, or to just harm you in some way. And I don't just mean physically. I'm talking about, a bunch of different types of harm, which I've talked about on my channel before. One thing that you can do to overcome this particular challenge is to clarify the terms. If you decide to accept whatever help or support is being offered to you, and before I move on, I want to say something about that. You have autonomy with that. Just because you are in need of help, and it does not matter how desperate you are, just because you are in need of help from someone does not mean that you deserve poor treatment, that you deserve to be mistreated, or that you have to accept support or help from someone that you know is not good for you, or that may bring you harm in some way at a time when what you really need is love and support. I'm going to move on to just offering some last minute or some last guidance and tips. It's really, really important that you know who you can ask for help and what you can ask them for. And I want to go back to that tracking tool that I mentioned. I think that's a really good strategy for you, with just noticing who are the people that are showing up for you and how are they showing up. Because it does not serve you to be depending on someone for support or help when they don't have the capacity to support you in that way. That may not be who they are. That may not be a strength of theirs. So based on their strengths and personal characteristics that they have, their traits, their energy, again, how they've shown up for you before, what is realistic for them in terms of what they can offer you, if anything? Because sometimes you reach a point when you decide, or you realize, I'm going to say that, oh, this person can't help me. Like, I wanted them to help me and I thought about reaching out to them for help, but after reflecting on it some more, they actually can't help me, or it is likely that they won't be able to. So that's one piece of guidance I want to offer you. The next piece, and this is a gentle reminder, and I'm going to read this here because this is an affirmation that I created for myself, and I love creating affirmations. I have another video that I talked about that in, but I'm going to read it here because I created it for myself. And it was around asking for help. And there's this reminder for me that just because someone isn't able to help you this time doesn't mean you can't ask them again. And also, if this person doesn't help me, that does not mean that I'm not going to get what I need. So I'm going to read it here to you. And this is just a gentle reminder. If I reach out for help and I'm rejected or I don't get what I need, I know and trust that my support is still on the way, but it's going to come from somewhere else. And I'm gonna leave that both in the comments. I'm gonna pin it in the comments, and then I'm also gonna include that in the description of this video, because I love that affirmation. Is one that I have written down in a few places, and I think it's just this beautiful reminder of staying in the energy of hope, remembering that, like anything else, asking for help is a practice. It is something that you do over and over and over again. And the more you do it, the more you learn about yourself, the more you learn about what asking for help looks like for you, the more you learn about who your helpers are, who are the people that you can call on for help. So I wanted to offer you that gentle reminder. Next, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it is just a very brave demonstration. It is a display of courage. It shows your ability to be vulnerable and being able to be open in that way. It also means, and this is I think this is most important on just keeping Reconnect With You vibes at the center of it, bringing that back in. It's a sign that you see yourself as worthy of helping and of supporting. When you ask for help, you are asking and reaching out to your community, to your tribe, to your family, to your support system, whatever you call it. And you are sending the message to yourself, I deserve this help. I deserve support. I am worthy of helping. I am worthy of having my needs met. And again, these are affirmations for you, but I wanted to just remind you that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. The last piece of guidance or tip that I want to offer you is to not take it personally. And I think that's kind of been weaved throughout today's video, but don't take it personally if you ask someone for help and they can't help you. Everyone is experiencing something, and I won't put a label on that, but everyone is kind of holding and experiencing something. And there may be times when what they're holding or what they're experiencing is taking up a lot of their time and energy, which means they are limited in what they can offer to other folks. And so it's important to keep in mind that it's not personal if someone can't help you. And it also is not, it does not mean anything or say anything about you. That is their stuff. Their need to say no or set a boundary, I should say. Their need to set a boundary and say, no, actually, I can't help you with this. I have some other things that are maybe more important, or that are more time sensitive, or whatever the case. But again, that is not a reflection of your worthiness or of how much you deserve. So I've talked to you just about, what they don't tell you about asking for help. Then I transitioned to sharing with you some challenges for asking for help, challenges to asking for help, as well as how to overcome those challenges. And then I finished us off with some additional guidance and tips, and I'll include timestamps for all of that in the description of the video to help that all of those different areas of the video easier to find. But I want to offer you a prompt. I end each and every video with a prompt for journaling or reflection. If you are new here, and I'm adjusting my timer here. If you're new here, I am very introspective, and I am constantly in reflection about different things because I really value understanding. So I include those prompts at the end of each of my videos. The prompt for today's video is, what fears, past experiences, or relationship dynamics influence when it comes to you asking for help? So fears, past experiences, and relationship dynamics. What comes up for you as it relates to asking for help? Well, that is all that I have for y'all for today. I look forward to connecting with y'all again soon. But in the meantime, reconnect with you. Peace. Oh, so one other thing I want to mention that I forgot to mention is I recently started a blog, and I'm smiling because I am so proud of myself for it. And I've been doing a lot of writing. I have not talked much about my writing on this channel, I don't think, but I started my blog, and I actually shared my first blog post in the post or community section, so please check it out there. But I am just very excited for where this, all of this extra writing that I'm doing, where it's going to take me, the journey it's going to take me on, what it's going to help me to learn about myself, about how I may want to show up differently here. But check out my first blog post. It is titled "Nobody is Coming to Save You." And it really is focused on why I do what I do with Reconnect With You, and why Reconnect With You I feel is connected to my mission here in this lifetime. So please check out my first blog post. I would love your feedback. I would love your support. But thank you again for being here, for your openness and your trust. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.